Hi, why should an organization have an information technology privacy and security strategy? This presentation is brought to you by Team 4, Cassandra McCullum, Chris Rawls, and myself, Alexa Stern. We hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Cassandra. It is a responsibility for every healthcare organization to have a privacy and security strategy in place. This is done in compliance to HIPAA law and state laws such as the Florida Statute 456057 specifically relates to Florida law and the ownership and control of patients' records for added privacy and security. Who is information technology? Information technology is distributing information, which involves the use of computers, communication networks, processing, automated systems. Also, it uses for transmitted and manipulate data information. It also is considered to be a subset of information and communication. Who uses health information technology? You have your healthcare providers, the government, HIM professionals, patients and their families, information technology departments. HIPAA's main federal laws for protection of health information are the privacy rules, which gives you rights with respect to your health information and set limits on how your health information can be used or shared with others. Then you have your security rule, sets rules for how your health information must be kept secure with administration, technical, and physical safeguards. And then you have your breach notification rules.
Hello, it's Alexis again. So what is an information technology privacy and security strategy? First, let's start with the patient's right to privacy. Security is the organization's responsibility to keep patient information protected and secure. Information Technology Department is a part and one of the components of a privacy and security strategy. They complete risk assessment, put security policies and procedures in place. They deal with the prevention of data breaches, and they also stay within HIPAA compliance. One of the strategies of having security is having security safeguards. These can include passwords and PINs, completing audit trails. Audit trails indicate who accesses the information, when they access it, any changes that are made, and are able to see what changes are made. Additionally, there are also encryption services. The HIPAA privacy rule, again, ensures patients' privacy is protected and secure. It does not limit the quality of patient care. So it is private, but protected and secure enough to be able to have patients' care still a #1 concern. PHI is protected health information. It is only released if approved by covered entities and/or written consent of the patient. Another important factor in when it is important to have an information technology privacy and security strategy is, again, to ensure policies and procedures are in place. There is a security protocol if and when breaches occur. You have to constantly update your systems due to the changes in technology and advancements. It is important to have a response team, identify risks and report the breach to the necessary entities, have a re-evaluation criteria, and then, of course, again, the audit. So when is it important to have this? All the time. Prior to the breach, during the breach, and most certainly after the breach, to ensure that a breach does not occur again. This informatic shows several covered entities that have been affected by security breaches. One of them is one of the biggest healthcare insurance companies in the world, Anthem Blue Cross. Usually when people hear Anthem, they know it's affiliated with Blue Cross. And in 2017, one of the largest security breaches in history occurred and 80 million people were affected. Anthem prides themselves on security and privacy, so the fact that even they were breached is amazing. So let's touch base a little bit more again on who is responsible for the privacy and security strategy. That would be the IT department or information technology department. They are responsible for analysis of risks and risk prevention. Once they've identified a risk, it's important to prevent it from future possibilities. The components of an IT department consist of a CIO, which is a Chief Information Officer, technical analysts, and the IT support staff.
It's Chris. I'm going to talk to you about threats to security. A couple of the threats I'm going to talk about. One, natural disasters. This comes in the forms of fire, flood, hurricane. And what happens in these disasters is the actual housing of the medical record or private information is destroyed. And that can be because of a fire, burning down a building, flood, that water damaging either from an overflow or from an act of nature. And obviously hurricanes are an act of nature, and they can destroy buildings and your private information. So that is one form of a threat to your security and your privacy. Another is the human threat, and those come in the form of malicious threats and non-malicious threats. Non-malicious threats can be error, omission, or ignorance. Error is someone shredding records that were in the form of paper maybe, and there was no other copy. Omission, maybe you forgot to send something when there was a subpoena. Ignorance is you basically didn't know what you were doing and you maybe sent it to the wrong place. Malicious, these are threats from maybe outside attackers, hackers breaking in through advanced electronic training and stealing your identity or your records. And then disgruntled employees. These may be people that sabotage records. So those are a couple of threats. Security risk assessment. There are steps in security risk assessment. 1, identify the risk. Apply corrective actions if a risk is identified. And implement policy and procedures regarding the corrective action that has been implemented. One risk you may come across is if a person is transporting a paper chart, it's necessary to have that paper chart confined in a compartment where the chart's name can't be seen by people that may be surrounding you in the elevator or hallways. And there should be policies and procedures on how to transport a paper chart. In regards to electronic files, making sure if there's access to an office that there is logins required on the desktops and the computers so anyone can't walk up and access a computer that's been left on. Those are all policies and procedures regarding security risks. Security threats of the electronic nature. One is email. When sending emails that contain personal, medical, private information, it is important to have encryption on your email. The sender and the receivers should be able to do that. Encryption puts the email through an algorithm that makes the email unreadable until it is received by the intended source. Also, the electronic source of threats are your network, making sure you have firewalls so they are not able to be hacked by an outside source. Defenses for electronic threats include encryption, which we talked about a few minutes ago. This is the algorithm that scrambles the information where it's unreadable. Firewalls, that is where the software is applied to the network so you cannot hack into it. Intrusion detection systems, these are systems, software systems that can detect if someone is trying to break into your network. Virus detections, if you run this software, it detects if your computers have been infected by viruses that potentially can be very damaging. And biometrics is a security system that uses retinal scan, voice identification, fingerprinting to be able to access your network. Security policies. Security policies include training new employees. And one step would be to enroll all new employees in a HIPAA compliance training. Another policy, annual reevaluations. It is necessary after a year of employment to make sure all employees remember the steps in HIPAA training that they received when they first started, making sure there are no questions about confidentiality and privacy of the patient's records. Access limitations, making sure employees only have access to the parts of the records they need to do their job. And automatic log off. This is when your computer system automatically logs off in times of inactivity. Say you have to get up from your desk emergently and you forget to log off or you don't have time, it would automatically log off after a period of whatever it's set at, normally 2 to 3 minutes. This keeps the network safe from people that just happen to be walking by and the system shuts down. Where are security threats? We'll talk about a couple different ones: providers' offices and facilities, and also storage facilities. In providers' offices and facilities, you want to make sure there's only access to the areas that have private, confidential patient information, personnel records. You want to make sure people can't access those places so they can steal records and identities, and also your medical information for insurances. Another place to have really tight control is the personnel records. You may have an employee that is not happy where he's at or wants to do damage to the employer and access personnel records. So you have to make sure the records and the housing of those records is in a secure environment. Storage facilities are another area that can come into some damage with unauthorized access, and also climate controls. Unauthorized access, if you store medical records off-site, you want to make sure those are safe, make sure the people that are entering the building have the correct accesses, and you're able to know who's been in and out by auditing those devices. Maybe with a swipe card, you'll know who's coming and going out of that building. And the climate control, making sure that if there's an outage in the outage in the electricity, you have generator replacement to kick in to make sure the climate is controlled. If you do have paper records stored, it's necessary to keep it at a constant temperature or a few degrees off, just to make sure that documentation stays in the form that it's stored in.
Here are our final thoughts on privacy and security. For privacy, you control over who accesses your personal information. Security, how your information is kept secure by healthcare organizations. And knowing your rights, which is report violations to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.